justifies the wicked. Sin by you at the same change from being a sinner to a child. Immediately your identity is changed from an unbeliever to a believer. God, His own power, the power who lavishes His love and justifies the wicked, who sees the righteousness of Jesus on you. Because Jesus was crucified without fault. Sin. He carried our sins, our pain, because He was a substituted man. Because He had no sin in Him. And that's why the righteousness of Jesus will be credited unto you. Once you do what? You do for you. Are you tired of yourself? Are you tired of disappointing yourself often and often? Maybe you've got a temper and it keeps coming for years, and yet you are in Christ. Sometimes you sit down to think quietly and you see how much you hurt people close to you. And again, you try to apologize. You say you are sorry, and yet you hurt them again. But the third time, you still hurt them. You are even hurt by yourself. And you think you are just useless. Fit for God to use. Or are you anxious about your circumstances and you're so tired of it? About yourself, then why can't I just trust God's faithfulness? Because sometimes it seems you get so tired of His promises over your life, and you want to put things into your control, and you want to control the people around you. But let me tell you, He's a God of times and seasons. What the devil is trying to do is to separate you from others, separate you from the kingdom. I need you. He wants you to be lonely and alone. He wants you to say to yourself, God cannot even help me again. He wants you to think you can only help yourself out of everything. But this is for you. That even if your life is dysfunctional, even those angers, those malice, you don't want to keep, you still keep them. You get angry over again and again. It seems as if you don't want to let. This is God's promise. So it's so just like it's that's all of His life. The reason why God lets you get tired of yourself is that He wants you to realize that never, never, never will you get tired of grace, even if you are tired of yourself. The grace of God is what? Available. And that's why He's still leaving the 99 to come after you. Because grace strikes where there is space. Grace strikes where you see you are useless. The grace of God is available. The message of God is new every day. Yes, when you confident. The grace of the Lord wants to make you confident. Just believe in His grace and rely on Him. Because the flesh can take you to no place. Your strength can take you to no place. I was teaching them on Wednesday and I said, gospel is just the opposite of the things you believe. That the weak become strong, and the strong has to learn, see that they are weak in Christ and rely solely on the strength of Jesus. This is how God sees you, brothers and sisters. Like a child that wants to draw its father. You have done your best. You have used all your energy. You have done the shape of a father. Let's think of a child of 3 years old, drawing the shape of his father. Just imagine the type of drawing you would draw that father. And here comes to the father and says to the father to show the father the drawing. And the father says, who is this? And said, that this is you. And in the second thought, the father is thinking, wow, this is beautiful, this is perfect. That is what God is saying about. You have done everything with your own strength. You have tried to please God. And you are showing to God, this is all I have. And God is saying, this is perfect. I just need you to surrender. Because in your imperfectness, in your incompetence, grace of God is available. My friend is perfect. My friend is perfect. I'd like to do. I think about a teenager After God that showed him all this, showed Abraham all the promises, God now gave him his son. After many years, the promise came. Isaac and Sarah in that promise would have thought that we are going to see our children, we are going to see children, isn't it? Not just a child. And children, they'll be grandfathers and grandmothers. But they received the promise. And what was that promise? And Sarah said, faith, believe, as little as it was, it was considered. Because in the context of Jesus in those days, the smallest seed that at that time was what? A mustard seed. That's even if you have a pitch of faith, I will credit my righteousness over you. And Abraham believed. Abraham never saw the promise of being the father of many nations. Is he alive now? Well, you and I claim to be Abraham's children. And that's what I was showing to the workers this morning. That the Lord wills. He has made decisions over you. But if he wills, you will see. He told Moses, take him to the promised land. His eyes saw it. Did he?
Was the promise fulfilled? God is assured by his word that every promises over your life will be fulfilled. All he needs you to do is believe. As little as what? A mustard seed. And see the greatest of all first, that Christ came to Abraham and said, this promise I have given to you, I want it as sacrifice. The promise of a father to many generations, father to nations. I want this promise. And Abraham, the next day, took it. I want to show you Abraham's faith. He took Isaac. And when he took Isaac, they journeyed for 3 days. In that journey, it wasn't that he was having faith that God will not take away Isaac. They went 3 days, and I'm sure when God gave him the location of the sacrifice, I'm sure God must have given him those 3 days journey so that he can run back and think this God is not good. Let me take matters into my hands again. And Isaac asks, Father, these are all the instruments of sacrifice. Where is the lamb? What did Abraham say? God will what? But they got to the altar, and Isaac was laid on the altar, his hands tied. A man of over 100 years old tying a teenager. I trust teenagers of my generation, of this generation. Tied him hands and leg and lifted him upon the altar. And then Abraham brought out the knife, and Isaac was under the knife. And as he was about to drive it into Isaac's heart, a substitute appeared. God said, stop, stop. I am your father. I will not take away the promise. I am your father. I will not take away the promise. I am your father. I will not take away the promise. And that was the sign to us that a replacement came, a ram came. And when God will show us that He's the ultimate father of all, He put His own son, Jesus, under the same knife and spared. He did not spare Jesus. The knife went through the heart of Jesus so that the Father can make the promise available to you and I. Look at that Romans again. Look at that last verse. That's where we are going to. He said from verse 24, but for